mid-season brawl. Currently, we're watching Dignitas as they take on Expert, and it is 1-1. Game 3 coming pretty soon.
Yeah, third game is going to decide a lot here. The momentum that we saw early on from Expert after the first victory has been broken by just now the last match ending in favor of Dignitas, but we are definitely in for a bit of a series here. I'm liking it.
Yeah, I think the first two games have been controlled pretty dominantly by Dignitas. Even the game they lost, it was really only a key pick-off into a very ballsy play at the end that allowed Expert to take that win. So I'm curious if they're going to go for a more aggressive strategy in the early game here in Game 3 and try to take a little bit of the map control away from Dignitas.
Yeah, Expert maybe playing a little bit more aggressive. We've seen it in the past. They can definitely pull it off, and we'll see if they will do it on the next Battleground. Let's figure out where we are going for Game 3. It's going to be Towers of Doom. This will be the choice of Dig, as Expert will be taking the first pick.
Yeah, so first pick, we have that, and also Bad Benny's prediction is already a bit broken, but they already took one map, so there's still a chance here. Bakery said in the interview earlier that they are a bit worried about going up against Expert, that they have to make sure that they're not getting surprised by anything here. Towers of Doom is a map where I could see a Vikings ban. After we've seen ADRD play 2 times Vikings already and looking good doing it, that would not shock me at all.
But we also saw Zelia play the Vikings as well, and I was pleasantly surprised at his Zelia, or the Zelia gameplay. It was Zelia gameplay on the Vikings. He kept up his control relatively well. I went and looked at the minute moments that actually happened in the match last week, and he just kept up with the control, especially with Eric in particular, never getting picked off.
For you, there must be one of those weird things with regions, right? Because Vikings is not really played in North America, if I'm not mistaken.
Since Garden of Terror was taken out of the rotation and the fact that we don't play much Warhead, there hasn't been a lot of Vikings. It's always been one of those things that teams will occasionally threaten, but it never really gets played more than in a very, very niche situation.
Well, in Euro we've seen it a few times, and this time Genji even makes it into the first ban on the side of Dignitas.
Yeah, Genji being taken out right away. Felt like they handled the Genji pretty well overall in last game, but they're going to go ahead and make sure he isn't being pulled out here on Towers of Doom, which, to be fair, there is a lot more space. Also, when you are locked down by a bell tower and you do get chunked down slightly, you don't ever want to have to deal with the pressure of maybe Genji coming in and going for the kill.
I'm really hyped for the draft. I think this is going to be absolutely fantastic to see what they're going to do with this. So we have a Dehaka ban for the global, Genji banned out, an early Tyrael pick here taken right away. And this is one of the key maps where we see a ton of dive happening. So Dignitas already a bit worried about that. We've seen a lot of Judgment Tyrael, Nuburak with big burrow charge and then trying to just blow up that backline. So Tyrael having such a huge priority on this map.
Is this something you normally see in EU, a first pick Tyrael on this map?
We see it a bit more often, I think, for 2 reasons. Number one, you can always cheese an altar. Simply drop a Sanct if you do it. And the alternative is to jump the backline. We have seen Abathur comps with double Zeratul and the Tyrael Judgment to go for the backline. Genji has been used for that a bit. So Tyrael play has been very aggressive on towers.
I also like that it sets up for you to move into the odd composition if you want to. If your opponent takes the Abathur, you know that Expert can run the Vikings. If they don't take it, you can move into the Abathur yourself and have a Tyrael Greymane suddenly. So you set yourself up for a really good foundation on your top 3.
Talking foundation, and Nuburak Malfurion. Very solid start for Dignitas here. Again, having the jack of all trades, a Nuburak there. Always great to have that in your spot. And as we see Malfurion as the healer, we have now the Abathur play. So potential Zeratul pick in the later stages, getting a good copy in and trying to jump that backline. Always depending, of course, on what Dignitas is going to continue to do.
Was Lost Vikings considered as somewhat of a counter pick to Abathur? Do you think this is something that Expert would ban out?
I'm not quite sure if they would go to the length of actually banning the Vikings out. We've seen Zelia play it once.
Yeah.
Not sure how worried Expert really is about it. I was more thinking about it on their end of the draft at some point.
Okay.
Maybe against Team Liquid with Hazobs running it quite a lot.
So it's more Expert style than Dignitas's?
Yeah, Dignitas showed it to us once, so we don't know if it's actually a playstyle they want to do over and over again, if it was meant for the match last week, which to them didn't really mean too much. They were already pretty much set up where they were at, so we'll have to see what it is. But overall, yes, the Vikings can be picked as a bit of a counter pick because you get that early game advantage and you're trying to push in the Abathur as much as you can.
The one thing that surprised me is actually that when we saw Vikings going up against Abathur, Abathur held up surprisingly well in the early game, because you would always think that the weaker early game of Abathur can be exploited by the Vikings being on the map. But the times that we saw that particular matchup, Abathur did pretty well into it. Not 100% sure yet if it was just the teams that faced off against each other, but yeah, in this case, they don't want to risk it. So they saw Xaylia played it once. They're a bit worried about it with the Abathur now, so they ban it out.
I am EU meta.
Yeah.
I'm now there.
Got it all figured out. You're good to go now.
So that can only help Temperstorm.
That's right. We're all going to be moving up, man, learning all the metas.
True, true.
I'm sorry.
There's a reason we want to go to EU a little early and get some practice in.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we even talked about it last time.
Yeah, hopefully. We're still trying to work it out, but if there's a chance for us to get there a little early, practice against some of the EU teams, I mean, we're definitely going to take it.
Sweet. I like it.
Just stream the scrims. Just stream them all the way so we can watch and take them all in.
Yeah, exactly. Stream all the scrims so the opponent is going to
just share everything. It's
research.
good. Yeah, yeah. Well, Li Ming and Greymane, we are going back to Reset City here, as we're going to be having both heroes that can get those resets to go for the throat, of course, but Li Ming, the critical mass, kicking in.
Yeah, Mina's going to be happy about that pick. Very happy.
He loves to play his Li Ming there. The question is, will they be able to get the resets? Tyrael, Uther, both pretty good at defense.
So Li Ming is fairly notorious in NA right now for having a win rate not too impressive.
1 to 14, something
so
along those lines.
Her wins were doubled yesterday, so she now stands at 2-17.
Impressive.
Nice.
Yes. So is that something that I imagine here, based on the draft stats, that we do not see in Europe?
I mean, I probably looked at it yesterday and said, oh, look, Li Ming is back.
Hey, if we can double our wins in one day with Li Ming, she's got to be good.
Well, Li Ming has a 51% win rate here in Europe, but she has fallen off, to answer your question. We haven't seen her as much in the last few weeks. If we do see it, it's when you can enable her to get those resets. Maybe on Sky Temple, occasionally, we'll get her pulled in, but we're going to now see if they can pull it off against Expert here, who has a pretty beefy lineup. Tyrael, Uther, Arthas, and Tychus, they're pretty difficult to kill.
Yeah, also double Arthurs in the fights later on. Always a pleasure to go up against. It's a lot of fun.
One thing that jumps to mind here for a potential aspect for Dignitas, I don't know their style per se, but Varian looks very good to me. It's a great map for Varian. Give them the second tank. He's also quite good against Tychus. It's very annoying for Tychus to get meaningful damage onto the front line when there's an invincible Varian. Leoric they opt with instead.
We have seen some really cool Leoric strategies with even the Royal Focus taken on level 4 just for wave clear yesterday. So it was interesting to see that. A few times it has been played, if you are worried about that. With their setup, I don't really think that's necessarily going to be the case, but if you get a good trap with an Entomb, that's all you need.
I think this Leoric pick is actually really, really solid for me. I just need some kind of wave clear when you're facing off against an Abathur. It doesn't have to be the Royal Focus, but something that is at least effective at clearing out the wave, so you can clear out whatever is pushing your way when he has that one Locust or two being in the mix, and then get to the team fight instantly. And also, he sets up an Entomb, which will give them opportunities to, one, deal with the Arthas with the Drain Hope, and maybe get some kills.
Good Entomb, hitting the Cursed Bullet. Li Ming says, oh yeah, and just goes in, drops the combo, and takes him out. It's a dream.
That is a dream right there, to get those kills right away. Overall, Expert has a pretty beefy lineup and, of course, has the Abathur factor, but when you look over to Dignitas, if they have the coordination that we know Dignitas 2 have, they can be effective in these team fights.
I'm looking for Dignitas to take control of the early game again like they have in the first two. Up against an Abathur, they're going to have the advantage early game, especially with a Greymane on those camps. I'm looking for a very aggressive invades from Dignitas to maybe steal the Merc camps away while before Abathur is 10.
All right, well, let's go to game number 3 here. Towers of Doom. We're all tied up 1-1. Who will take the first lead in this series?
Heading into our third game, Towers of Doom is the map as Dignitas and Expert clash once again. Bakery currently rocking, of course, the support here with Malfurion. We have Snitch on Greymane. We're seeing Mena on Li Ming. Xaylia is rocking Leoric. And last but not least, JPL on Anub'arak.
Expert to the far right in the red. We're going to be having Curson on the Uther. We're going to have Tychus played by Nick. ADRD will be the Abathur. We're also going to have Bad Bunny playing the Tyrael, and Blade will be on Arthas.
Double Arthurs later on can definitely be extremely annoying to zone people out, but let's see how they're going to play this here. Early game is, of course, going to be a bit of a weakness for Expert, since Abathur really comes online after level 10.
JPL goes in and sleep for the Impale. Bad Bunny will answer back with a slight throw of the sword. But the main story, bottom lane, has had some pressure here as Dignitas actually did that rotation to get a little bit of pressure on the turrets on the bottom right, and it works out as they get some nice chunks in.
Yeah, they're already trying to be aggressive with JPL diving in here, but Expert is playing this a bit hesitant right now. They know the early game is something they need to worry about. Up at the top, nice rotation here from Arthas, I like it. Interrupting Leoric and pushing some free damage onto him. That was actually well done. Blade knew that at some point Xaylia would rotate top, was waiting in the bushes here, and just pressured Leoric slightly. That helps in the long run on the lane. Doesn't have a massive effect just yet, but it's going to add up later on.
And that play was enabled because of Abathur, able to soak that lane the entire duration, and then of course maybe switch over and bring out the symbiote to allow Arthas to get that necessary poke. Now, in the middle lane, we're going to have Bad Bunny dealing with the Nubrak here. We're going to have the Tyrael and the Nubrak battle wits, but I'm mostly watching that bottom lane as Li Ming will always be coming in for the poke, but Li Ming has a really hard time with bringing in the solid damage against Tychus, who's probably one of the most robust assassins we actually have in the game.
Yeah, also, especially when we have the Odin being popped, that's going to increase that, of course. At this point, we are still seeing the triple altar. So the first and the fifth altar phase on the map is always triple altars. The only two. And at this point, of course, you're hoping to at least get one from Expert. We still have also Abathur with possible Toxic Nest slowing down rotations. But Expert is attempting to set up some pressure at that bot lane by taking the camp just in time before the altar spawn.
And grab their Mercs. Dignitas already grabbed theirs on the bottom left. May need someone to go in there and get a little bit of a nudge so they can keep it pushing in. 4 is the name of the game here, as our teams will be working for that experience. And we're going to have JPL being quite the nuisance as he sits on Blade and Curson.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried that they are going to lose out on all three. Let's see if Xaylia interrupts again. Now he lets it actually channel through. So it's a 2-for-1 trade. As an Abathur team, you are happy with that. That's still okay. Of course, it's ideal if you can get more than that, but you don't really expect to channel through 2 if you're still missing that 5th health bar on the map. But it looked for a moment as if Dignitas would attempt to delay even more at the top right and force maybe another team fight there.
Dignitas still comes out with a better trade, though. They were able to push in that bottom lane and get some sappers on those turrets and get some damage in, just because Expert committed to going to the top right to grab the altar, which gives them points, but made it harder for them to push in that lane on the bottom.
Now, I want to... Oh, wait. One second. Okay, JPL gets out. I want to highlight something quickly here. Look at the level 4 talent again for Leoric. So he indeed goes for the Royal Focus, and this is starting to become a bit of a trend. We've seen that yesterday, and the way that teams are using this is by double soaking lanes with Leoric. This is becoming a bit more popular, and the whole idea behind is that you do a lot of extra damage on your Skeleton Swing after you use a Wraith Walk. So you simply move in with Wraith Walk from lane to lane into every single wave. You just swing in and take those waves down fast, so you always have the rest of your team moving as either 4 or occasionally splitting a hero off. So that is becoming a bit of a trend in Europe. We've seen it a few times now. That's definitely something we need to keep an eye out for if that happens more in the future.
I think it gets a lot of great effect against Abathur. You can sit in the middle on the top lane and keep floating in, especially after you take a bell tower. You're clearing out those lanes constantly. Eventually you will break through, make Abathur maybe miss some experience overall, but the overall effect makes it to where Abathur isn't able to hat his teammates, which gives you the great advantage in the 4v4 on the bottom right, especially when JPL comes in without a Nubrak on the engage. I like that pickup.
Yeah, so for now we are actually seeing 2 altars moving in. Again, the level 7 Talus have been picked. The bigger they are for Tychus, trying to chunk down that front line as much as he of course can. And they're starting to move in for the channel, but Benny needs to move away. Mena poking, and already Leoric getting one channel through. Abathur still doesn't have his level 10 and makes it tricky for them here. They would have hoped to go for a trade, but it looks like Dignitas can invade, and they get the kill against Tychus. That's going to be a second altar for the blue team.
Xaylia coming in with the slow flank as he tag teams the Arthas here on the right side, brings in the last hit, and yes, you are right, double the altars here for Dignitas, taking a massive lead, 36-24. And they can keep continuing to apply pressure. They push in here on the bottom right. Look at Bad Benny, who's low on mana, and look for a forward. But Snitch is a bit overextended against an Arthas with a symbioted hat.
Yeah, Symbiote is there. Also, level 7 talents. We have now the Lingering Apparition taken for Leoric, so he can really use use that Wraith Walk to move from lane to lane, from wave to wave, and get max value out of the Royal Focus. Just watch him on that mini-map the entire time, moving between lanes. Here's the engage once again, and now the Empowered Skeleton Swing is going to do a ton of damage, can get the wave quite easily, and then moves to the top. You know, it reminds me actually a bit on what we've seen Zul do on maps as, for example, Blackheart Spade, just rotating top, mid, and soaking 2 lanes. That's kind of what Leoric currently does.
Yeah, I was going to say Zul and Dahaka, both of them kind of do that on this battleground in particular, where they're able to clear it out constantly and keep pushing in. And you're going to see the results soon. 9 and a slight smidgen of experience over Team Expert, and they'll keep rubbing the mercenary camps. Bottom left starting to push in, they're moving towards level 10, clearing out the bottom, and this puts all of the attention here on the bottom for this 4-on-4. It's essentially an 8-player game right now.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see how in the end Dignitas is going to go up against Expert once level 10 is hit, because this is one of the maps where you can suffer damage on your core and always start a comeback. And Expert has done the one important thing: they kept even in experience.
They have kept even, moving towards 10. Blade comes out with a Howling Blast, hits JPL, will force a solid, nice amount of damage out. Bakery also getting pretty low, but he'll be able to top everyone up, and the altar spawning in 13 seconds. Both teams should be able to get 10, but Dignitas will hit it first.
Dignitas gets it slightly faster, the altar in 7 seconds. That should be enough time for Soak to happen here, especially since the wave pushes into the towers up at the top any moment now. Here comes the 10 though, the perfect timing for the engage. Blade is still alive though on the afters. The channel has happened on the other hand, and that's another 4 shots on the core of Team Expert that they would have loved to deny.
Really like that play. We saw 3 heroics get used. Wave of Force, which is a low cooldown, Curse Bullet, which is a low cooldown, and only the Cocoon to see, hey, maybe we might get a kill here on Arthas before they hit 10. But worst case scenario, we get them to push back and we get the shots in the core. 36-20. Dignitas fairly ahead by a large margin and can continue to keep pushing in the bottom.
And always on the minimap, Leoric making those moves, mid-top, 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 pushing both lanes back, forcing a reaction out of Team Expert. But this is really the moment when Abathur starts to shine more. Thanks to him having the ultimate evolution, this is the time when Expert says, all right, boys, hard part's over. This is where we need to start looking for team fights. And this is the moment when having Leoric at that top lane can be a liability. If the fight is called at the bottom and you're missing one of your heroes, it becomes a bit awkward. So you already see that Xaylia is starting to focus a bit more on the bottom position.
Yeah, rotations will have to be very important for Leoric. We're going to have Nick popping the Odin on the right side. We have Tyrael low on health. He will get Cocoon. Signification was interrupted, but we still have a Divine Shield from Curson.
Yeah, the Tomb was out, zoning them out, and we saw an aggressive move onto Bakery, but he moved away. JPL is low, and so is Li Ming. It's Mina who ends up falling here, but it is a trade as Tyrael was also eliminated.
1-for-1 trade. The siege potential gone though, as Nick's Odin has been destroyed. We're gonna have the mercenaries grabbed for the push on the bottom left.
And Leoric immediately, see ya, Bernards. Up at the top lane again. It was nice fighting with you. I'm seeing you in a few when the cooldown is ready again.
So far, Abathur's been holding though. He continually keeps rotating between these lanes, making sure to have his body near the area, soaking the experience as we move towards level 13. Dignitas' Li Ming will be spawning now with 2 altars activating to the top left and the top right. Our teams will start to converge in those areas, especially with no mercs available on the bottom.
Yeah, we're on the 3rd map, and this is of course now where it becomes a bit crucial. Again, the cooldowns are about to be ready. We have Arthur still with 15 seconds on his, and Odin is also not quite there yet. Channel to the left side is happening. Curson attempting to zone. The problem is the tanks aren't there yet, still in the middle, but Nick still is able to get that channel through. So the teams make another exchange happen here. But Expert feels pressured now. They are on half the points on the core, and Dignitas is looking for the potential pick. But this time, it's not working out quite well.
Xaylia's going to go ahead and just send Doom 3 into his entire team. Xaylia is still walking away. No way he gets away from this fight. Cursing comes in from the stun. There we go. They get a kill, and that's helpful for Expert because the experience jumps up, and they actually get 13 before Dig.
And that's important that they are starting to take a slight lead there. Keep in mind, they're still behind in the core points, so this is what they really need to bridge to make sure that they win a few team fights, put the pressure on, ideally take a bell tower. But of course, Dignitas have a very different game plan here, and they still have even talents now that they reach 13 as well. So Leoric starting to spec a bit away from the wave clear and instead going now also into his Drain Hope talents to get the additional damage in after a quick into.
So while Dig has the lead here by double the points, 32-16, I am a bit worried for them. I don't see them getting the resets that they're looking for unless they can kill the Arthas in the front line. And with the Divine Shield being available and Army of the Dead, wait a minute, they're actually going to get it here. Wow, they actually just kill the Arthas. Of course they do it the moment I say I'm worried about it. Thank you, Dig. We're going to have Malfurion hitting the Ice Block on the left side. ADR goes in. Nick is caught. He's going to pop Odin, but he's got us stuck.
Odin and the shield. Malfurion is down. They get their kill. That was actually a nice turnaround considering how early Arthas died. Arthas never using his army. That was a big problem for him that he couldn't rely on the heroic. Even with the Soma transference on Abathur, the heal just wasn't there at the time, but they still trade evenly.
The Army of the Dead was on cooldown, but I'm not sure if it got interrupted or if it was actually still on cooldown from the last fight. Regardless, when I looked up and he died, I was like, oh, he's got a couple more seconds left on it. So
they timed it perfectly. They waited. They listened into the cast, which of course they can't, and we're just saying, all right, let's time this perfectly. No, hold it. Now he said it. Okay, you can kill him.
But here is the news. Twilight Dream is down for 40 seconds. Army of the Dead is available. Now Divine Shield and Sync is also down, but Arthas should be able to be in the front line a little bit better here. 3 altar phase for our teams. Abler's in the top right, and he can start the channel because they saw that 4 people are on the bottom left.
That cocoon is also an issue, that they had to use that there and did not get value. That's a problem. Leoric is going to... look at Abathur. Abathur is channeling the top, and we have Leoric there too, but now Abathur can help out the bot lane. This should be another altar for Team Expert, because Leoric is still a few seconds away. Can they channel that through? That's the question. It looks good so far. Main has to go deep for the interrupt. Gets it though.
Curse Bullet does come out, hits Nick here. Zelia moves in and misses out actually on the Drain. Hope. Now we do have double the Tychus as ADRD is zoning out everybody, and there's that altar you were talking about, grabbed by Expert.
Abathur had to burn his heroic, so they're trying to go in. They get the altar, that's the important one, but they try to get a bit more as Leoric is already up at the top. So they sacrifice the cooldown to finally get it. Dignitas did a good job interrupting, but with them using a lot of their resources already earlier, and Leoric also not there at the beginning of the fight, they just had to let this go. But experience is still super even, with Dignitas even taking a slight lead as the fight starts once again. The silence on Tyrael nearly costs him his life. But that's, again, 2 big cooldowns burned as Cocoon and Twilight Dream have been used.
Big play there by Curson. He put himself in a spot where he couldn't be seen by the opposing team, so Cocoon could not stop him from healing. He got the heals out on Tyrael when he got silenced, and Bad Benny stayed alive because of it. And now Team Expert comes out ahead here. With Twilight Dream being down, they can force a fight with 16 hats with Holy Ground on a mercenary camp, and Dignitas will have a hard time getting kills.
Yeah, you can really tell that this gap that we saw in the damage on the core is now slowly starting to get a bit smaller. 24 points for Dignitas, 12 for Expert. But of course, Expert has to still be very weary here. If they lose a fight and they lose Bell Towers, Dignitas can potentially end the game. It's all about the upcoming team fights. And as you said earlier, Blade is just such a presence at the front with his Arthas. He really dropped the Army of the Dead maybe a bit too early here. Was very, very afraid of this Entomb just starting another big engage on him.
Yes, that's the problem there, is that Army of the Dead was actually used because it's a longer cooldown than Entomb. Entomb is up in 25 seconds, whereas Army of the Dead, 55 seconds. That's 30 seconds there that Team Expert will have to deal with the window that Dignitas has available to them.
And you can't really blame him here either. This Entomb was used so many times as a heavy engage with the Curse Bullet following after, and then the stuns happening from Anub'arak. So if you misjudge that, for a moment you might fall. This is what happened earlier. But now that cooldown is missing as we have the altars being fought over. And it looks like Leoric is going to get the one in the middle. Here comes the silence from Bakery. Malfurion still falls. Is the counter kill possible on Blade? Doesn't look likely. The heal is through. Odin popped as they start to chase Dignitas.
Bad Benny needs to help get more kills here. They have to here, as they lost out on the altar, so they want to start opening up Bell Towers. Blade's low on health here. Divine Shield the last second, as we still don't have Army of the Dead up for 10 seconds. Holy Ground will pin Snitch against the wall, and Snitch will fall.
It's what they need. They need to gain some momentum. 2 kills, that's good, but they lost out on the altar, and that's a problem. 8 points on the core against 24. They need Bell Towers, and they need them soon. They're still quite low, though. That is a concern to them right now. Abathur in the middle, they can try and soak a bit, but they move away from the bell tower. With such low hit points, they're just not confident enough to go in. But they are down to 8 points. That means a single double altar phase. one altar and a boss can end the game for Dignitas, and Dignitas is pushing for that.
They are pushing for that. They're so confident here, even that they know that Expert has backed up with the Mercenary Camps, they grab their own. Expert does move down here to the bottom left, and they'll start to siege away when a minion wave pops up, as that's what they were waiting for earlier. They need to kill now, because in, 1 second here, Greymane is going to start moving towards that bottom bell tower. Here comes Xayah. He does have an Entomb.
There's the Cocoon, Sanctification is being used, Greymane not there yet, but on the way, triple Entomb, the stun's coming in as Anoop is on the move, AD is zoning them with the Abathur clone, and JPL is low, but the silence is hitting, but only the copy is taken down.
And no one has died yet. Curson with the heals and the armor will keep his team alive. Members low on health and mana will have to back and go straight home and heal on up. And remember, this is a 2 altar sequence here. There is 2 popping up in 15 seconds. Team Expert can afford to give one up, but no more.
Divine Shield is ready, Odin is ready. We are going to see 40 seconds until the army is back. 24 for the Abathur copy, an important one. They cannot let these slide. Dignitas, they are still waiting for Malfurion to have his ult available, but the rest should be there in time. Damage is being pressured out. Channels are happening at the bottom. Uthra is getting the first one. They're fighting over the middle. The attack happens, and there's the kill on Tyrael.
They're able to get Tyrael here. They did get the bottom altar, as you mentioned. Bakery will start the channel. Xayah's low on health, but Drain Hope will keep him nice and healthy. Blades moving in. Here is the copy, as you mentioned. JPL is forced to retreat.
Close call. Very close call on Anubarak. He moves away. It's a 5 versus 4, but they are pushing in with everything they have, and they're going for Xayah. Xayah, low, really low, goes down. The copy is eliminated, but is that going to be enough? That's the big question here. JPL in the backline with another Cocoon as the roots go on the ground against Tychus, and Nick falls, and that's a horrible kill for Expert.
Blade praying to get another kill here as they go straight in for Bakery. He'll use the Ice Block to survive, while Curson will also bring out the heals. But Blade, he has no more mana. He has a hat and a Divine Shield, but there's not much more he can do.
Divine Shield and moves back here, but they have to give it up. It's 20 against 8 points. Both of the teams looking for 20 as they're already on 19. The boss is on the map. Blade attacked once again. He can't fall here. Gets Entombed. It looks bad for Expert.
He cannot die here, and he does, because this means Dignitas can move in for the boss. Now, there is a Tyrael with Sanctification and Holy Ground. There is a Miracle play available, but if Dignitas can prevent that from occurring, they're not even going to try to go in for it. They're not going to even allow the opportunity to happen.
Dignitas right now knows the only thing they have to do is wait for a double altar, wait for a boss, take a chance. 40 seconds on Arthas. They risk it. They go in. They're trying to look for it. Cocoon the Tyrael. It's all you have to do here. The Cocoon on the Tyrael. And Nubarak, JPL will split any second looking for him. He sees him. He's going to go for the Cocoon. Silence is there. They jump in. They try to go for it. And here comes the one play. Does Expert somehow take it? They nearly get the boss. They do. They do get the shots. They lose Uthra in the process. But they take the boss. The Cocoon is too late. Misplay by JPL here, as for now Expert keep their hopes alive.
Nick will pop the Odin, and he'll attempt to live here. That's what he needs to do. Just get away from this fight. Xayah moves in for the engage, but the damage from Odin is pretty darn scary. They get a kill. Bad Benny as well will also get picked off, but for now, Expert does live.
The timer, all about the timer right now. When are we going to see the next altar here? And here, once again, just look at this. They're diving in, and it's just a bit too late. Bad Benny gets the zoning tools out. They push them away. Great play here. Nick in the backline finally gets cocooned. JPL just a bit too late when he was looking for Tyrael. Didn't find him as he jumps in, and then the boss is taken. 20 versus 20. Altars in 7 seconds. And Tyrael is not going to be there.
Blade's running down here. He has to delay this. He knows it. Here's Nick on the left side. He's on top of Snitch trying to burn him down. Bakery with the flank, and Nick is going to die. They have no damage. This has to be game over.
Yeah, that's
JPL drops in, and here's ADR attempting to zone out Bakery as well.
He can't die here, and Arthas is now the second one to follow. We have the channel starting. The shots are fire. Team Dignitas taking the lead on Towers of Doom in our best of 5 series here in the playoffs against Team Expert.
Dignitas earning the victory here, goes ahead 2-1 over Expert, looking pretty great overall. Much more controlled this game. They seem to really be in the driver's seat the entire duration.
Yeah, it was a game of cooldowns, I feel. There were a lot of fake approaches or attempts where you just engage, you drop an Entomb, you drop a cooldown, you try to bait out a few of your opponent's cooldowns, and if you get the trade, then you are in a decent spot. Cursed Bullet, super low, Cocoon also not that much of a problem. Highest cooldown that Dignitas really had was the Malfurion Silence, and they were really trying to hold it back for the actual fight.
Yeah, I think the game went pretty much as expected. They controlled early mid phase, and I mean they've shown through three games that like 90% of the game they've been in control of the entire part of it.
Yep.
I was a little surprised to see the Abathur pick come out from Expert, thinking that they would want to pick a comp that had more control in the early game, try to like turn it on Dignitas, but maybe we'll see that from them in Game 4.
Really started to hurt too towards the end there, where we kept having the staggering deaths. Like there was moments where we could have Expert actually set a foundation and start to make a comeback come in, but the moment they lost a member here or a member there, they just lost all hope of that ever occurring. That boss steal was pretty impressive. They got it done with a Tyrael and an Uther. Now you called out the misplay there, the Cocoon not coming out for the Sanctification, but still, overall, a solid steal away on that boss.
Yeah, it was well done that they were able to get in there and steal that away, keeping their hopes alive just a tiny bit longer. The problem for me was really burning a lot of the big cooldowns, the Legion on the side of Arthur's. If you don't have that sustain in the big team fight, it becomes a huge issue, sometimes not having the copy available when they really, really needed it. So I think Dignitas played this extremely well, knew when to take the fights, and Expert was just always scrambling for that one big fight where they had everything available, and they got their fair share of kills. It was just too late.
They sure did. And just a note really quick, StarCraft apparently is hosting us here at the HEC, so thank you so much for coming over and chilling with us. You obviously just saw Abathur and Tychus losing out in a match, but hey, maybe they'll win in the next one. We're in the middle of our own playoffs right now, as Expert and Dignitas are fighting for a seed in the midseason brawl, and we're in the playoffs. We have one more match after this, so we hope you stay tuned and get ready for Sweden.
Yeah, and also, as we have a lot of StarCraft people watching us right now, if you guys haven't tried Heroes of the Storm yet, you should do it now, because we still have mega bundles available. So basically, if you try the game now, you get 20 free heroes. Not quite sure how long that offer is still online, but I definitely know it's still there this weekend. So that is the perfect opportunity. If you haven't done it yet, no better time.
Yeah, it's great gaming, and we all came from StarCraft, man, and we love Heroes of the Storm. It's been pretty freaking awesome. We'll be right back with game number 4. This is the HG.